Broadcasting to you from the heart of northern Minnesota, this is the Roger Radio Show. I am Roger Radio.
And I'm Aegis Levity of the entire band group.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's obviously a giant elephant in the room, because the music industry has experienced two sad losses in the music industry, and these are two pioneers of their respected genres. And I'm, of course, talking about Sly Cooper, the man who's behind Sly and the Family Stone, who was revolutionary in the blues funkadelic style music. And obviously, the other one is Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys as well, who we are here to honor today. But obviously, it's such a sad loss, because this was a guy who really changed the landscape, or was among those who changed the landscape of the music industry, So, before we get started with today's podcast, a cheers. Rest in peace, Sly Stone. Rest in peace, Brian Wilson. Your legacies will never be forgotten.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you can see that I wanted to fit in with the style of the Beach Boys, obviously, Hawaiian shirts. I've always been a sucker for Hawaiian shirts. And obviously that's how the Beach Boys really dressed, them Acapulco shirts, like our main guy, Hunter S. Thompson, or Raul Duke on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I was just watching that the other day, so I was kind of in that mindset. But today we were going to discuss King Crimson's album, The Construction of Light, or the Deer Hunter's new EP, North American EP. But in light of the recent passing of Brian Wilson, I made the decision that we're going to put those aside. We'll do them at a later date. Instead, I wanted to take this opportunity to focus and do a legit album review on what is not only Brian Wilson's greatest work and
1 second, I'll be right back. Keep talking.
the Beach Boys' greatest work, but what is considered one of the greatest albums of all time. And I am, of course, talking about the Beach Boys' 1966 album, Pet Sounds. What is there to say about Pet Sounds that hasn't been said, ladies and gentlemen? It is a masterpiece. It's I don't know, man. What do you got to say about it? I had you listen to it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Clearly at the last second,
Yeah, I mean, it was all right, but I know it doesn't sound like one of the best albums of all time to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad though. Wasn't bad.
I told you the other day, man. Do you know where Rolling Stone has this ranked at?
Number two.
Number 2. But, dude, you gotta understand, though, the reason why it is considered one of the greatest albums of all time, like one of the top tier albums, is mainly because of all the production and all the experimenting that Brian Wilson did. He pushed the boundary when it came to overall production of the music. He stated this many times that he intended to create what would be the greatest album ever made. And while it wasn't really much of that, this album made his legacy. There's no doubt about it. And you even stated yourself, dude, like you want to create the greatest band of all time for your band. So don't you think you could aspire to be like what Brian Wilson was doing?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I just experimented my own way though, but they were also experimenting in their own way, so
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know, like my main thing with it was like it had some good songs, some songs I didn't really care for, but I liked most of the songs.
Yeah.
And
the
the
first
lyrics for
song.
me were the the lyrics just didn't really hit me,
Yeah,
and they were a bit repetitive.
yeah.
But
It's
otherwise, it was a good album.
yeah. It's just that like the first song that we will get into soon, obviously, is probably their most well-known song. There's no doubt about it. All right, so we're gonna quickly take a look at the background of this. If my Wikipedia will load for me, though. Okay, so Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys was released on May 16th, 1966. It was recorded between July 12th, 1965 and April 17th, 1966. Their label was Capitol Records. The genres are progressive pop, chamber pop, psychedelic pop, and art rock. And the producer, of course, was the one and only Brian Wilson. The studios they incorporated or used was Western, Gold Star, Columbia, and Sunset Sound, all in Hollywood. So they were obviously all over LA working on this album. So to give you an idea of it, recorded largely between January and April 1966, it furthered the orchestral sound introduced in the Beach Boys' Today, which was released a year earlier in 1965, and it was initially promoted as the most progressive pop album ever. Pet Sounds is recognized for its ambitious production, sophisticated harmonic structures, and coming-of-age themes. It is widely regarded as among the greatest and most influential albums in music history. So let's take a look at the backstory of how this album came to be. So, the Beach Boys' sixth album, All Summer Long, released in July of 1964, concluded their beach-themed period. And if you were all wondering, it means like their surf rock sound, because they were among the pioneers of the surf rock sound. And remember,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, back in those days when they were starting, they were considered the American equivalent of the Beatles. That's how very popular they were in their heydays. Let's see here. Right after that, they shifted their music towards an increasingly divergent stylistic and lyrical direction. In January of 1965, Brian Wilson, who was 22 years old and the leader of the band, declared his withdrawal from touring overall so that he could concentrate on songwriting and the studio production, which is basically like how the Beatles decided to retire from touring altogether to focus on working on their album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Let's see here. The rest of the group, meanwhile, Brian's brothers Carl and Dennis, his cousin Mike Love, and his friend Al Jardine, they all continued to tour without him. They brought in session musician Glenn Campbell initially, followed by Bruce Johnston, and who alongside Terry Melcher had been a Columbia Records staff producer and member of the Ripcords and Bruce and Terry. So through 1965, Wilson showcased his great advances in his musical development with the albums The Beach Boys Today and Summer Days and Summer Nights. Released in March, The Beach Boys Today departed from the group's earlier sound through orchestral arrangements, introspective themes, and a move away from surfing, car, and simplistic love motifs, which was what defined the Beach Boys, who they were in their heydays. Let's see. While the second half of the record contained 5 songs with a unified theme, Summer Days, issued 3 months later, bridged Wilson's progressive style with the band's pre-1965 approach. On July 12th, Wilson began recording Sloop John B, but temporarily shelved the track to focus on Beach Boys Party, an informal studio album created to meet Capitol Records' demand for a Christmas release. That October, he and his wife, 17-year-old Marilyn Rovell, moved from West Hollywood to a home on Laurel Way in Beverly Hills, where he later stated he spent subsequent months contemplating the new direction of the group. Between October and December, he refined Sloop John B and recorded 6 new compositions, including The Little Girl I Once Knew, which was released as a single in November. In December, Capitol issued Barbara Ann from the Beach Boys Party as a single without consulting the band. Wilson publicly dismissed it as an unrepresentative of their upcoming work. From January 7th to 29th of 1966, the bandmates toured Japan and Hawaii. That's pretty much the background stuff. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to quickly, right before we get to the tracks, I'm going to read this article that Rolling Stone wrote on their 500 greatest albums of all time, where they have the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds at number 2 on their list. The link to that article will be in the description below. Huh?
What's number 1?
Marvin Gaye's What's Going On from 1971. Okay. So the article reads as follows. What do Guns N' Roses and the Beach Boys have in common? Besides for both being quintessential California, Appetite for Destruction and Pet Sounds are the only 2 albums on this list that did not move from the spots that they were listed at from the last listing that was in 2012. So a bit of the background that I already read to you guys will be included on here, but I want to read this article for all of you. At the beginning of 1965, 22-year-old Brian Wilson, with already 7 albums under his belt, told his band members he'd be quitting touring to focus on his work in the studio. As I mentioned earlier, Brian Wilson heard the Beatles' record Rubber Soul at number 35, and that was an album that was released in 1965. And he became obsessed with it. It was like nothing else he had heard before, and he was inspired to make a record that was like it, but much more better. He was so impressed with the lack of filler tracks on the record and set out to make a cohesive work that had 0 filler at all. He was also obsessed with Phil Spector and his wall of sound production technique. These 2 obsessions, coupled with a bad LSD trip that lasted 8 months, culminated in Pet Sounds. This record really, for all intents and purposes, was a Brian Wilson solo record. The Beach Boys weren't even around it when it was written, nor were they there for most of the recording. In fact, the lead singer, Caroline No, was credited as a Brian Wilson song on release. Session players, known as the Wrecking Crew, were hired to play the music. They were often used by Spector on his recordings, which Dennis and Carl Wilson, Al Jardine, Mike Love, and Bruce Johnston provided harmony vocals. Mike Love provided the lead vocals on a handful of tracks, while Wilson saved arguably his greatest song of all time for his brother Carl to sing on, God Only Knows. With this release, Wilson embarked on one of the most ambitious feats of production up to that point in time. He employed the use of instruments not traditionally used in popular music. Brass, strings, woodwind, etc. But notably, unusual instruments such as a bicycle horn, Coca-Cola cans, and sleigh bells. Wilson, a notorious perfectionist, would spend months working on individual songs. The second single, Sloop John B, for example, was started in July 1965. Wilson would then set it aside for a few months before revisiting it in October of 1965. He spent the last 3 months of 1965 polishing the vocals. Pet Sounds really is a cohesive body of work, with each song tessellating perfectly with the next. Wouldn't it be nice into You Still Believe in Me, God Only Knows, into I Only Know, or I Know There's an Answer, Here Today into I Just Wasn't Made for These Times, and the instrumental title track, Carolyn No, It's Just Perfection. Wilson's innovations in the studio inspired countless albums and artists to come, but most notably in a full circle movement. The Beatles were inspired by Pet Sounds to create their album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which would be released a year later in 1967. In fact, Paul McCartney cited God Only Knows as the greatest song of all time. Pet Sounds changed the way people thought about albums. They were no longer a compilation of unrelated singles. They had now become an art piece, a deliberate and related collection of music. To be honest, when I realized that Sgt. Pepper's had dropped out of the number one spot, I had hoped that this would take its place. It seems to be the only worthy contender. Pet Sounds took a toll on Brian Wilson's mental health, and it's shelved the follow up Smile at number 339. The Brian Wilson version would eventually push him off of the edge. Because honestly, how does one follow up Pet Sounds? Brian Wilson truly is one of the most interesting and unique musical geniuses of all time. Put him up there with Mozart and Beethoven. His talent is otherworldly, and it's laid out for all to see on this record. So that's a whole lot of information. Aegis, do you have anything you want to say regarding everything that I just mentioned?
Really? I didn't even think God Only Knows was the best song on that album. Let alone being the best, greatest song of all time. I just can't jive with that. Wasn't a bad song, but it's like, it's not for me. And there are other songs I preferred on that album.
Yeah. Like, even looking at this, dude, like, like, it's so interesting that this was in an era in music where there was like so much going on in the music world, because we had not only a lot of experimentation and production going into music, but it was also during an era where new music genres are coming, like psychedelic rock was coming in full steam. Like Pet Sounds was one of those that would help kind of usher in like the progressive, or no, the psychedelic rock music. And your stuff, progressive rock, was starting to come in, like I think maybe a couple of years later, or whenever it came out,
Yeah, it was like late 60s.
Yeah, because you had like Genesis, David Bowie, Yes was
David
starting to
Bowie
come
wasn't
in.
actually progressive at all. He did art rock.
Yeah. Uh, oh yeah, but he did like have a bit of influence for like prog stuff though, right?
He probably had a bit of influence from that, yeah.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. I'll have to look more into that, but yeah, I mean, like I said, guys, like Pet Sounds, like Brian Wilson, he put all of his heart and soul into it, but at what cost? Because remember, he would, just like with Aegis and myself, he started dealing with a lot of personal mental health problems, where he was literally pushed to the brink. Went to he was even in like some, like a hospital or whatever, because of like just a severe nervous breakdown he had. Like it took such a huge toll on him. Not only that, but then there was like all the other stuff that would happen years after. His brother Dennis Wilson drowned to death in 1983. His other brother Carl died from cancer in 1998. It's just insane, man. Even then, the two surviving members from that original lineup, Al Jardine and Mike Love, even they did tributes to Brian Wilson. And even then, Brian Wilson and Mike Love's relationship, it hasn't really been fully good over the past few years, or I don't know how long, because of Mike Love's politics and trying to start his own stuff that involved lawsuits between all of them, but Mike Love did state that he really, really appreciated his cousin because he was cousins with the Wilsons. You know, it's just an unbelievably sad week for all of us, because we lost who was one of the most influential people in music, and I believe he was. Like you're gonna look back and you'll really appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen, and I encourage you to check out all the Beach Boys' music. All right, so now that that's all out of the way, you want to get into the tracks?
Sure.
So the first song
Uh,
that we are going to start with is obviously "Wouldn't It Be Nice," the opening track. And what is there to say about this song that ain't said? The only reason, funny Aegis, is why I know about this song is because they played it on an episode of Seinfeld where all of them went to the fucking Hamptons, and there was like a cutscene where Kramer was like on the lifeguard stands, where lifeguards sit at. And then he ends up
Hmm.
poaching like some lobsters in a cage and whatnot, and the song was playing in the background.
Yeah.
And you want to know?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Aegis. You've listened to the first track. Doesn't it not sound like a
Yeah.
song that they should have put on National Lampoon's Vacation movies?
I could see that. Yeah, that would work.
I mean, dude, imagine that. Putting this song on the same soundtrack that has Holiday Road by Lindsey Buckingham, who's also another great guitarist, dude. Could you imagine if that soundtrack would have gotten a fuck ton of Grammys?
Yeah.
All right, so
So
well,
yeah, wouldn't it be nice? I actually really like the song. I thought it was nice and catchy.
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
amazing.
it says on Genius, the song was written with young people in mind and expresses the never grow old mentality. It says here, a quote from Brian Wilson. Wouldn't It Be Nice was not a real long song, but it's a very up song. It expresses the frustrations of youth, what you can't have and what you really want, and you have to wait for it. The need, the need to have the freedom to live with somebody. The idea is that the more we talk about it, the more we want it, but let's talk about it anyway.
Dude, I can really understand that, man. I definitely know where he's coming from with these lyrics. I mean, doesn't that just match? Doesn't that kind of feel relatable to all of us, especially how many years later? This album, it'll be 60 years ago come next year when this album came out, but doesn't it just feel relatable?
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just yeah, like it's such a catchy song, man. It really really is. Um I'm just trying to find the titles obviously. And I forgot
yeah.
to
The
mention
next one
this.
is "You Still Believe in Me."
Yeah, before we continue on, like obviously we the artwork it's all five of the band members feeding goats. If I had a goat, dude, do you know what I would have named it? Billy.
I don't get it.
I don't know what it is. Like apparently the name Billy is almost relatable to goats. I have no idea why.
Yeah, because it's called a billy goat, like the billy goat's gruff.
Yeah, that's why I would name it Billy. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, what is there to say about this? I'm just
I
reading it,
really liked the introduction to this song, that instrumental bit at the beginning. I
dude.
really liked that.
You know what? Now I just remembered what I was going to say about this. So, ladies and gentlemen, we about a couple months ago we reviewed Radiohead's album "OK Computer," and the song "Wouldn't It Be Nice" that I mentioned was actually "Wouldn't It Be Nice" was what inspired Radiohead to make their song "No Surprises" because of the beginning of each tracks. Like Aegis, I just remembered that.
Holy shit. Completely unrelated to the video we're making. I just came up with an incredible idea for a concept album that I'm going to write today.
Well, be
Sorry, that
sure you.
just came
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Well, dude, if you have a pen and a paper, write it down before you forget. All right.
Yeah.
But I'll just read this quick snippet quick while Aegis is doing that. So, in a 1976 radio
Okay.
interview, Wilson said his intention in writing the song "Wouldn't It Be Nice" was to express the need to have the freedom to live with somebody. The idea is the more we talk about it, the more we want it. But let's talk about it anyway. Let's talk it over. Let's talk about what we might have if we really got down to it. And Aegis, you can fucking relate to that right now with what you just did.
Yep.
In 1996, he reflected, Wouldn't It Be Nice was not a real long song, like you said, but a very up song. It expresses the frustrations of youth, what you can have, what you really want, and you have to wait for it. You know what? The frustrations of youth, it almost reminds me of I was watching James Dean's 1955 movie Rebel Without a Cause, and I could see it kind of being relatable.
Yeah.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we will be doing a movie review of that someday on the Intermission group channel. Be sure to subscribe to that too as well. Alrighty, so
Excuse me.
next song is called You Still Believe in Me. I gotta make sure that I muted the music so that I can look at the lyrics as well so that I can get my grasp. What do you what's the information about that song, my man?
Let's see. All it really says is it was one of the first songs Brian started on and had a childhood theme until Tony Asher came. This is evident from the bicycle horn heard throughout the song.
Yeah, I just hit my microphone. God damn it, I really gotta take care of this thing. That's it?
Yeah, it doesn't really have much info on it. I mean, it has like some highlighted lyrics that can tell you the meaning behind the lyrics.
Yeah, I was gonna
First
say
off,
I
I'm
have
going
it
to
on
take a hit of this.
yeah, I was gonna say, man, I have the Wikipedia page and I'm looking at the lyric stuff on here. If you need help with that, I could also help with that as well, you know. So
All right.
my
Cheers, brother.
merry yep. Rest in peace, Brian. You really left a legacy that will
Yep.
never be forgotten, my man. I already had
And I
a
can
sip of
only
my
dream that
beer.
I do the same someday.
Oh, oh yeah, it's a voodoo. Hey, can you do that jingle?
Voodoo Ranger, hoppy.
Okay, so I'm just looking at Wikipedia page. I will include a lot of links in the description below, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so according to the lyrics, biographer Mark Dillon described the lyrics of You Still Believe in Me as a musing about the ups and downs of adult romance. I've been there, done that. In the song, the narrator expresses appreciation for his lover's unwavering loyalty while confessing to his irresponsible behavior and unfaithfulness. He admits that he is not where I should be, and though he puts forth effort in the relationship, he has occasionally failed myself. The relationship stability is thus shouldered by the more mature partner. And here's another interesting fact that I just found here. According to the Wikipedia page, Brian's then wife Marilyn felt that Brian had based the song on their marriage. Biographer Timothy White similarly attributed an autobiographical element to the song as viewed through Brian's perspective. He writes, and I quote, You Still Believe in Me was an interior monologue of self doubt, exploring and debating Marilyn's patient capacity to forgive Brian's selfishness and creative absorption, contrasting the rude force of their frequent breakups with the softer tone of their reconciliations. Brian admits the only time he feels in control of the relationship is when she's providing the stability, although he's unable to be what she wants him to be. There is no resolution of the problem, Brian concluding that he wants to cry. Wow. Wow, dude. Okay, so it could, let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is. But, dude, doesn't that not sound legit?
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. I actually never even thought about that, man. Dude, I mean, Doesn't it just sound like doesn't it sound like American Roger Waters before Roger Waters became Roger Waters? Wow, dude. That is actually a whole lot for me to take in, man. But yeah, I could really see that some of this, man, really does relate to me. Even though I wasn't exactly in a full relationship and whatnot, I could actually really see that self-absorption thing coming in, man. Like, holy shit. Okay, so track number 3 is That's Not Me.
I
Um,
thought the song was all right. I don't know, I'm really picky about my music. Doesn't mean it's a bad song.
yeah.
Just means it's really not my cup of tea.
You gotta remember, guys, Aegis Don Levity right here is a progressive rock guy, art rock guy, and a math rock guy. So he's gonna kind of be a fucking prick today.
And I'm trying to be respectful about it, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
I
say, oh,
know
this
what you
song's
mean, Matt.
shit. If you
Yeah,
like the song, you're a piece of shit. You have bad taste. I'm not gonna do
yeah. I mean, I could tell. I mean, we all get you, man. I was just kidding, by the way. So,
that.
but yeah, like, what is there to say about it, man? I mean, it's one of those songs where he really put it like, like a lot of all the songs were basically like production stuff and like all of that. So, what do you got anything on your end for what the lyrics would be about? Or
Let's see. Do you want me to read the lyrics off and I'll just or
you can if you want. I got the lyrics up too if we need that. So,
here, I'll just read the highlighted parts. The pre-chorus by Mike Love, it says, I could try to be big in the eyes of the world. What matters to me is that I could be to just one girl. It's like the way he doesn't care. Oh shit.
yeah,
He
dude,
doesn't
that
care about
part
the
that
fame or anything. He just wants to be dedicated to this one woman, which I can really relate
just
to.
like what you want to do.
Yep, yep. Unlike
Like it's
Roger over here, I don't sleep around at all. I'm just hunting for that one girl.
Hey, I'm looking for that one person too, but I'm let me put it to you this way, man. I'm basically like Brian Wilson's brother Dennis. Dennis was one of those guys who really wanted to find that one person to be with, dude. But he was the one who was the most willing to push the boundaries kind of thing and just be around a whole lot of girls kind of thing.
Hmm.
Keith Moon, he never fucked around with a lot of women, man. He was married to one gal and was in a relationship with another woman who he was going to marry before he died. But he never slept around with any other women while he was doing his all of his crazy ass shit. So, but yeah, it's just so what I get. So here's what I have for the background and lyrics thing. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here's what Wikipedia says. The lyrics illustrate a young man in his path toward self-discovery and independence. I had to prove that I could make it alone, but that's not me. To this end, he decides to leave both his home and his lover. I once had a dream, so I packed up and split for the city. He contemplates being successful and
Okay.
great in the eyes of the world. However, he feels that it may be more meaningful to do it for the sake of just one girl. His parents notice that he is acting out of character, possibly before he does. My folks, when I wrote and told them what I was up to, and said, That's not me. As the narrator reflects on his past, he begins to understand that his personal development has not reached its full potential. I went through all kinds of changes, took a look at myself, and said that's not me. Oh, you put it your hand up, dude. Is there something that you wanted to say quick?
No, I was just fucking with this thing. I have to stem. It's an autism thing. You
Yeah,
probably
I
know what
get you.
stimming
That's
is.
kind of what I'm doing with my cord right here. Do you see my cord right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, we're both
So,
autistic, if you didn't know.
yeah. So, to continue on, ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, he realizes that he is better living with a lover than pursuing a life of solitude in service to his dream. I soon found out that my lonely life wasn't so pretty. He then begs his lover for forgiveness after having abandoned her at the wrong time. Although he is grateful that he did, for now he is that much more sure that we're ready. In a 1976 interview, Wilson stated, I think that's not me reveals a lot about myself. Just the idea that you're going to look at yourself and say, hey, now look, that's not me. Kind of square off with yourself and say, this is me, that's not me. Asher expressed dissatisfaction with the lyrics of the song, describing them as labored, and lamented that he had missed the mark. He said, this is all a criticism of my lyric writing. By the way, it's a very interesting series of chord changes. It goes in wonderful places that you don't expect it to, but for some reason, I found it very difficult to write to. Music historian Jim DeRogatis states that the song was written after Wilson, influenced by psychedelic drugs, had been inspired to turn his attention inward and probe his deep-seated self-doubts. According to biographer Timothy White, the song was written about Wilson's feelings about his withdrawal from the group's regular touring lineup after December 1964.
Got
I mean,
anything else to say about that one, or should we move on to Don't Talk? Put your head on my shoulder.
I'm not gonna put my head on your shoulder. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do that over a Zoom call, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, I could just run up to your apartment right now. I know where you live, you cunt.
Yeah.
All
That'll
right.
be weird. Just
Before we get
fucking
that
run
going,
up
if
here.
you guys are having any heartburn or chest cancers, just take a little Tum right here, you know?
That's
I
what I
love
do.
Tum. I love Tums,
Tums work
dude. My
fucking
grandma
magic.
used to give them to us like it was candy.
I do like that nice minty flavor.
Dude, have you ever tried the Gaviskins? They
What?
fucking suck. Oh,
What do?
Gaviskin is another antacid, but those fucking suck.
Hmm.
For
Never
some
even
reason,
heard of that.
my dad when he was alive, dude, every time he had heartburn, he would always take a fucking Gaviskin. I was like, you're expecting me to have one of these shits, dude? Give me a fucking Tums. And he was
Hmm.
like, this is my house. I will buy whatever fucking brand I want. Alrighty, so next up, don't talk, put your head on my shoulders. Well, we have to talk because it's my fucking podcast, so. Alright, so, it was at this point, honestly, that I kind of really, spaced down on, like, the music because I was trying to get my apartment rearranged because I got some new furniture from one of my neighbors who's going to be transferring to the Walmart in Billings, Montana. So she gave me a bunch of extra stuff, but it's great timing because I'm planning to get like a production meeting thing set up in my apartment for when Aegis and I need to come up with ideas for like anything. So be sure to stay tuned, by
Yeah,
the way.
so honestly, you didn't miss out on much. This is one of my least favorite songs on the album, actually.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it says here, Brian Wilson called this Pet Songs number one of the sweetest songs I ever sang. The innocence of youth in my voice, of being young and childlike. I think that's what people liked. Got bassist on the session, Carol Kay, I think that's pronounced, said
Yep,
of the
Carol
music,
K. And she's
nice
going to be
chord
one of the.
changes.
Oh, go ahead, dude.
Oh yeah, she's a, I believe Carol is a she anyway. Nice chord changes, almost classical. Lots of suspensions and close harmonies, something Brian was getting more and more into.
Is that it? Or.
So it says for the description, but it has like more details on the lyrics here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I've now that you brought that name up, I just want to look something up quick. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could just hang on for a quick moment, now that you brought up
Yeah,
Carol Kay, I think she's one of the many people who's going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year, as a matter of fact.
really.
Yep.
No, it says here the major theme of the song revolves around the power of nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
Something my autistic ass is fucking retarded about.
Oh, I'm sure you're not all that bad, man, you know? Oh, all right, come on. I was lagging like a bitch here for a moment, man. Fuck. What the? Yeah, I'm just, no, some reason yeah. What the fuck's going on here? I'm trying to, it's just bringing me to the same link over and over again. But yeah, Carol Kay is supposed to, be inducted into the Hall of Fame for something, but I can't remember. Yeah, folks, if you could just hang on for a minute, just a little bit of technical difficulties on my end because my shit sucks. Alrighty. She's gonna be inducted this year for the category of musical excellence. And I have already discussed this on one of my podcasts that I did a while back, which is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees announced podcast. If I need to, I will include a link in the description below. But she is among those who will be inducted this year, so stay tuned for that.
Okay.
Okay, so anyways,
No, that's mostly what that song is about. It's just about nonverbal communication. Like, hold me close, don't say anything, you know?
yep, I got you. All right, so do you want me to read the Wikipedia part or no?
Sure, if you wanna.
All right, I might as well because I'm finding a lot of good information and I really want to get all this info out. Especially to all you younger generational people who is after my gen. And let me tell you something, you guys think your music's good? Fuck you guys. You obviously haven't listened to the great music that came from 60 years ago, so don't talk to me about that.
There's
Especially
actually
all you
still good
fucking
music.
Swifty fans and Beyonce fans. And let me tell you, Aegis and I, we fucking know what we're talking about. So don't come
Yep.
talking to us until you really understand.
No, there's still really good music around these days, still being made. You just got to dig for it.
Exactly,
Whereas
yeah.
back in the day,
Aegis has
the
introduced me to a lot of bands that I
good
never
music
knew
was more
about, and
popular.
I've gotten into them. So, okay, so here's what Wikipedia says. Don't Talk, Put Your Head on My Shoulders was written by Brian Wilson and Tony Asher about nonverbal communication between lovers. In the lyrics, the narrator observes of his lover, I can hear so much in your sighs, and I can see so much in your eyes. There are words we both can say, but don't talk. Put your head on my shoulder. The narrator is generally celebratory of the time that the couple were spending together. Although the line, let's not think about tomorrow, implies that he is also feeling a sense of desperation. According to Asher, it's strange to sit down and write a song about not talking, but we managed to do it and it came off well. Wilson thought that Don't Talk had an overall mood similar to his 1963 song Lonely Sea. Explained, it's a different setting, but the emotion is the same. His then wife Marilyn opined that the lyrics demonstrated Wilson as most romantic and that other people would have thought the message was sissy-ish, but he was very romantic. And that was just coming from two people just being close. In reference to that line, listen to my heartbeat, Brian reflected. I felt very deeply about that line. One of the sweetest songs I ever sang. I have to say I'm proud of it. The innocence of youth in my voice, of being young and childlike. I think that's what people liked. Music journalist Jeffrey Himes described the song as a ballad that featured Brian singing in a devotional high tenor about the romantic moment when words fail. Biographer Timothy White suggests that the lyrics can be interpreted as both a peaceful meditation on romantic tranquility and a song of reunion for any loved ones. Conversely, author Jim felt that the lyrics suggest the way you express your love for someone who is ready to go, it's what you say when you know it's the last time you'll hold her in your arms. You know what's very interesting about that? That's those lyrics almost
Hmm.
relate to what my parents' marriage were like when they were together for 25 years before my dad passed. Okay, so the
So
next
my
song.
favorite drama movie is Josh. Sorry. Roger gets the joke. You probably don't.
I fucking hate you right now. Okay, so well, I say let's do two more songs and then we'll go to break. So how about that?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So the next song that we're gonna do is "I'm Waiting for the Day." You got
I didn't
anything on
even
your
read
end?
their info on this. I just kind of scanned the lyrics a bit. And what it looks like is like his friend was having relationship troubles and he gave him support through that. And he's just waiting for the day when he can love again.
What's interesting for me is that I could probably understand that, but it wasn't a relationship issue. It was a friend with benefits situation. So yeah. Um here's what it says for Wikipedia, ladies and gentlemen. Background and lyrics says, I'm Waiting for the Day was copyrighted by Wilson as a solo composition in February of 1964. When the song was published on Pet Sounds, it was credited to Wilson and Mike Love, who revised the 8 words in Wilson's original lyric. Asked in 2014 about the song, Wilson said that there really was no specific inspiration. The song is a simple love poem whose narrator wishes to offer his comfort and support to a girl who was abandoned by her former lover. The narrator feels that she is the only one for him and that he holds the power to
Okay.
set her broken heart free. However, the broken-hearted girl is reluctant to commit herself to another relationship, leading the narrator to pledge, I'm waiting for the day when you can love again. Biographer Peter Ames Carlin summarizes the song as a relatively hard rocking tune about love's restorative power. Musicologist James Perrone notes it is the story of friends who become lovers. However, at the point in time of the song, they seem to be in a nebulous area somewhere between the two states. Therefore, while the sentiments are more optimistic than those of some of the lyrics on Pet Sounds, the listener can still sense some of the unease of Wilson's character. He may be hopeful, but he is not quite where he wants to be. It is one of the
No.
5 of 13 tracks on the LP that Wilson did not write in conjunction with lyricist Tony Asher. In his 2003 book about Pet Sounds, Charles Granada refers to I'm Waiting for the Day as a sensational reminder of the Smart Songs Love had co authored with Wilson on the 1965 album The Beach Boys' Today.
No, I was actually surprised with this song. I actually really liked this song, the way it sounded,
Yeah,
I liked I thought it was a good sounding song.
absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Like, it's just so hard for me to try and decide what songs that I like because the only song I really knew about that a whole lot of people know about mostly is the first track that we've already talked about. Wouldn't it be nice? You know. So,
Then we
oh
got Let's Go for a While, which was instrumental.
yeah, just a instrumental thing. So
Yeah, nothing too incredible, but it was all right, I guess.
yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't know, man.
This was one of two instrumental songs on the album. The other one was the title song, Pet Sounds.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, the only info that I have really here is just there are melodic features but no tune to speak of. As an instrumental composition, this gives the piece an atmospheric feel. However, the exact mood is difficult to define to the extent that the listener hears Let's Go Away for a While as an incomplete piece. I don't know, man. You know, like it's so hard for us to even talk about instrumentals because what is there really to say? There's not a whole lot we could really say.
All you can really say is like, oh, that sounds cool, or oh, that was boring. That's about all you can
Yeah.
really say about instrumental
And
songs,
here's
really,
the yeah, and
unless you
here's the thing.
analyze them deeply using music theory, you know?
Yeah, and here's the thing, man. It's like when it comes to instrumentals, I don't really listen to a whole lot of them. You know, there's a couple of instrumentals that I will listen to here and there. Like for example, Sirius by the Alan Parsons Project is one good example. And I'm sure like
If
you with your progressive rock, there's a whole lot of instrumentals that
Yep,
you have
yep,
listened to, obviously.
that is exactly what I was gonna say. Me with my prog, I listen to a lot of instrumental music.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. But yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Uh,
we are gonna take a quick commercial break here. Well, not a commercial break, just the intermission and all that shit, you know. But
yeah, we'll be right back. We are going to go commit mass genocide. That
yeah.
was a joke.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Roger Radio Show. I am, as always, your host, Roger Radio, here with my pussy, something I never get here.
Well, if you are what you eat.
And as always, I am also here with the man who won the Charles Manson lookalike contest whenever he renewed his fucking ID last. I don't know.
Do you mind if I tell you the story of why I had to go back in to get it redone?
All right, tell us quick.
All right, I'll make it quick. So I went to get my fucking driver's license ID picture taken, you know? And I got picture taken, everything was good. Then like got a letter in the mail like a month or so later, and it was like, "Yep, you got to come back. You got to retake your picture. Something was wrong." And I got there. Do you want to know what was wrong with it?
What?
It was one fucking hair on my face, one motherfucking hair on my face. And they're like, "Yep, there's a hair on your face. You got to retake the goddamn picture." What's even fucking worse was the time before that when I got my license picture taken from my last license. I got to wear my glasses. I got to wear my hat. It's like, what the fuck is that?
Here's a question that I just found on my Facebook feed right now. What's your favorite song about sex?
Ooh.
Oh my god, dude.
She Shook Me Cold by David Bowie from his 1970 album, The Man Who Sold the World.
Does Cherry Pie by Warren count?
I don't know.
God damn it. I might have to ask them themselves, you know, so. Alrighty, so. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so last we looked at the first 6 songs of the album Pet Sounds that we are reviewing, obviously. We are here honoring the life and career of Brian Wilson, so before we get back into it, cheers.
1 second.
He's got to open it up because he didn't have time to fucking prepare for this shit.
All right, cheers, brother.
All right. Yep. Rest in peace, Brian Wilson, and rest in peace, Sly Stone. Okay, so we are now on track number 7, and that's Sloop John B.
Not gonna lie, as far as the lyrics go, I think the song has the best lyrics out of all the other songs in this album.
Oh yeah, can you give us a little information about the lyrics or like the meaning behind this stuff?
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Does it have just all right? Sloop John B is the seventh track. We know that.
Yeah,
Let's see. While the song's music exhibits the typical surfer vibes the Beacher Boys are known for, its lyrical content sheds a rather critical light on the tropical island motif, often implemented and glorified by the band in their songs.
yeah,
This possible self-reflection ties in with the general theme of melancholy throughout the album, showing a more mature approach to life and songwriting.
yeah.
So it's like, we yeah,
The only
Sloop is like a sailboat.
is it really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm assuming it's about them riding a sailboat called well, a sloop that they called John B.
Yeah, I'm not really able to find a whole lot of information here, but I know that it says there have been many recordings of the song since the early 1950s, which is in reference to the John B. sales and its variant titles, including I Want to Go Home and Wreck of the John B. The only thing that I can really find is just about the arrangement stuff. The Kingston Trio's 1958 recording of the John B. sales was recorded under the title The Wreck of the John B. Al Jardine, who was one of the members, he was a very huge folk music fan. And he was the one who suggested to Brian Wilson that they should record the song like that. Jardine explains as follows: Brian was at the piano. I asked him if I could sit down and show him something. I laid out the chord pattern for Sloop John B. I said, remember this song? I played it. He said, I'm not a big fan of the Kingston Trio. He wasn't into folk music, but I didn't give up on the idea. So what I did was to sit down and play it for him in the Beach Boys idiom, which would be like, their style, that kind of thing. I figured
Yeah.
if I give it to him in the right light, he might end up believing in it. So I modified the chord changes so it would be a little more interesting. The original song is basically a 3-chord song, and I knew that wouldn't fly. That's pretty much all I could really find, folks. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
that's all I could find. Alrighty, so the next song that we have here is God Only Knows.
Really was not a big fan of this song, but it's apparently the most popular song on the album.
Yeah. Um, is there anything that you have that you want to say for on your end for like the information about this album or like the meaning of it?
Let me see what it's got. Uh, doesn't really say much. Let's see. All right. So it says, I may not always love you. Uh, I may not always love you, but as long as there are stars above you, you never need to doubt it. I'll make sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you. If you should ever leave me, well, life would still go on, believe me. The world would could show nothing to me. So what good would leaving me do? God only knows what I'd be without you. And if you should ever leave me, well, life would still go on, believe me. The world could show nothing to me. So what good would living do me? So it's basically about like If you left me, a life would go on, but I'd be nothing without you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the information on Wikipedia, and there's a fuck ton of info here, so I'm gonna try and get through as much of it while I can. At the time the song was written, referencing God in a title or lyric was generally considered a taboo for pop music, and there had been at least one recent instance of a record being banned from radio for having words such as hell or damn. Asher said that he and Wilson had lengthy conversations about the lyric because unless you were Kate Smith and you were singing God Bless America, no one thought you could say God in a song. He said, we'll just never get any airplay. He believed that Wilson agreed to the title after being told by other people that it was an opportunity to be really far out because it would cause some controversy, which he didn't mind. Dylan wrote that referencing to God or referring to God may have also been viewed as a square move due to nascent decline of traditional religion in the United States. Excuse me a sec. In the lyrics, the narrator anticipates the dissolution of their romantic relationship and asserts that life without their lover could only be fathomed by God. The deceptive opening line, I may not always love you, was the subject of another argument between the songwriters. According to Asher, I liked that twist and fought to start the song that way. Working with Brian, I didn't have a whole lot of fighting to do, but I was certainly willing to fight for the end for that. In the next line, the narrator reassures that they will be with their lover, so long as there are stars above you. Marilyn interpreted the opening lines as an autobiographical from Wilson's point of view. He knew that I was there and I would never leave him. So he knew that he could abuse me even though he didn't try to. I was never number one. I was always two or three. But if I would leave in some kind of way, he would get totally distraught. Let me see. Okay, this here is what she said in a statement that I have right here. The first time I heard it, Brian played it for me at the piano, and I went, oh my God, he's talking about God in a record. It was pretty daring to me, and it was another time I thought to myself, oh boy, he's really taking a chance. I thought it was almost too religious, too square. Of the songs on Pet Sounds, God Only Knows is the most lyrically ambiguous. Commentators have sometimes attributed a suicidal quality to the protagonist. In the second verse, the narrator declares that life would go on, should you ever leave me. But if that outcome were to occur, then what good would living do me? The suggested implication is that they would end their life without their lover, an interpretation that Asher said was not intended by himself or Wilson. Among other interpretations, writer James Perrone, who referred to the song as one of the more unusual expressions of love in a 1960s pop song, believed that there is a hint that part of the character's love may be self-serving and part of a cycle of codependency. Cashbox.
Codependency.
Thanks, man. Cashbox described the song as a slow, shuffling, tender, romantic ode about a guy who is so much in love that he doesn't think that he could go on without this gal. Asher stated that the intended expression of the song's lyrics was, I'll love you till the sun burns out, then I'm gone. Ergo, I'm gonna love you forever. Wilson commented that the song was based around being blind, but in being blind, you can see more. You close your eyes, you're unable to see a place or something that's happening.
Next, it is I Know There's an Answer, which I wasn't really a big fan of this, and I kind of found it a bit boring.
Yup.
What it says here is I Know There's an Answer is a song by blah blah blah. We know it's by this is the ninth track. Who cares? The song was written during Brian's second acid trip. Wilson later stated, "Yeah, I had taken a few drugs and I had gotten into that kind of a thing. I guess it just came up naturally." The song was originally named Hang On to Your Ego, but the lyric of the chorus was changed after concerns that it was LSD related.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now is that it was renamed to Hang On to Your Ego right here. All right, so I'm just taking a look here quick. The song was renamed to Hang On to Your Ego. At this juncture, the lyrics reference acid-induced ego death and advised users of LSD to be wary of the drug's effects on the mind. The narrator also expressed a frustration with the self-centeredness of others and urged those who use psychedelics as escapism, like himself, to hang on to their ego, even though he believes that they are unable to. In the interpretation of author Donald Brackett, the song warned against losing touch with one reality through effortless chemistry, while coming closer to another one through the determined effort of talent. In other words, don't let your identity be melted away during your search for enlightenment. It's an artificial paradise. The narrator cautions, since as Jack Kerouac once remarked, enlightenment wasn't built in a day. Ah. Wilson's then
Jack
wife.
Kerouac, didn't he write On the Road?
Let me take a look. Give me a moment.
I got it on my shelf, actually. I can just go run over and check.
Oh, fuck. Ah. He was an American novelist and poet. He was the
Yeah.
pioneer of the Beat Generation.
Yep. Yep. Then he definitely did write On the Road.
That's what I'm trying to find right now. Just give me a moment. Yeah, while Aegis is grabbing what he needs, be sure to subscribe to the Roger Radio Show if you haven't yet, if you're enjoying this stuff, and be sure to subscribe to the Intermission group channel as well. The link to that channel will be in the description below as well. So,
Yeah.
you found it?
Yeah, I did. On the Road by Jack Kerouac.
Nice, man. Ah. Okay.
Yeah, this is basically like the Bible of the Beat Generation.
Oh, okay, I got you. I got you loud and clear, man. All right, so I'm just gonna continue on with what it says about here about this song. Like I know there's an answer. To continue on as saying, Wilson's then wife Marilyn attributed an autobiographical quality to the piece. Like most songs on Pet Sounds, she believed that Wilson was writing about his frustrations relating to life and how people think, musically or intellectually or whatever. Asked if Hang On to Your Ego was based on his struggles in maintaining his ego, Wilson responded, yeah, I had taken a few drugs and I had gotten into that kind of thing. I guess it just came up naturally. He later said that it had been an inappropriate lyric. I just thought that to say hang on to your ego was an ego statement in and of itself, which I wasn't going for. So I changed it. I gave it a lot of thought. After being renamed
Yeah.
again now as I Know There's an Answer, the song was altered to describe the protagonist's hesitation to tell the self-centered how they can improve their lifestyle. In the verses, how can I come on when I know I'm guilty was modified to how can I come on and tell them the way that they live could be better. Elsewhere in the choruses, hang on to your ego, hang on, but I know that you're going to lose the fight was changed to I know there's an answer, but I know I have to find it by myself. Most of the other lyrics stayed the same. And despite concerns over the song's drug references, the key line, they trip through the day and waste all their thoughts at night, was kept. Love said that his revisions were an attempt to reflect the more positive message or finding yourself. Wilson supported this message. Asked in an interview about what the answer in the song was, he responded, yourself. There is an answer for you. Although the narrator expresses pity for uptight people who trip through the day, he leaves them alone to live as they wish. According to musicologist Philip Lambert, the revision introduced contradictions. If the message is to seek answers within, then the song's opening line, I know so many people who think they can do it alone, which Mike didn't change, no longer makes sense as an argument to be refuted. In fact, the new message contends those people are right. They can do it alone by recognizing their self worth and realizing their unexplored potential. Dude! Dude! You know, I could certainly relate to this because of my own ego, but holy fuck, I never thought of it that way.
This next song I can kind of relate to with that what's going on in my life right now.
I mean, holy shit, dude. Oh, gotta fix my camera quick. Give me a moment. Just wow, man. Wow.
Right, the next one is called Here Today, and I'm just gonna read the lyrics to you, all right?
Yeah, go ahead. I got him up so that way I could read.
All right, it starts with just a little glance now. Right away you're thinking about romance now. You know you ought to take it slower, but you just can't wait to get to know her. A brand new love affair is such a beautiful thing, but if you're not careful, think about all the pain it can bring. It makes you feel so bad, it makes your heart feel sad, it makes your days go wrong, it makes your nights so long. You've got to keep in mind love is here today and it's gone tomorrow. It's here and gone so fast. Right now you think that she's perfection. This time is really an exception. Well, you know I hate to be a downer, but I'm the guy she left before you found her.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying you won't have good love with her, but I keep on remembering things like they were. And so on. You kind of get what it's about.
Oh, yeah. And that's it?
Oh no, there's more lyrics if you want me to finish it.
Um, yeah, you can if you want, man. I'm fine with that.
All right, yeah. Then it says the chorus again. She made me feel so bad. She made my heart feel sad. She made my days go wrong. She made my nights so long. Oh, you've got to keep in mind, love is here today and it's gone tomorrow. It's here and gone so fast. Keep in mind, love is here today and it's gone tomorrow. It's here and gone so fast. Love is here today and it's gone tomorrow and it's here and gone so fast. Love is here today and it's gone tomorrow. It's here and gone so fast. And that's it.
Yeah. All right. Before I read my end of the stuff, dude, I'm gonna quickly use the restroom. I'll be right back. Just go ahead and keep talking about what you need to say quick.
Okay. I'm just gonna stare. I could make a clever quip about how he's fucking his cats again, eating their shit. But no, I'm just gonna stare at the camera. When he gets back, he says anything, I'll just say that I told you a joke. Oh, uh, why did the guy with a dog that had no arms or legs call it cigarette? Because he takes it out for a drag every night. Oh, well, that's another good short joke. Did you know that pigeons die after having sex? Well, the one I fucked did. And, oh, there it is.
All right, I'm back.
All right, I told the audience a couple jokes.
I'm sure they're good jokes. So, okay. So, this here is the information that Wikipedia once again has. Okay, so Here Today was written by Brian Wilson and Tony Asher for the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds album in early 1966. Although Wilson claimed that Asher only provided the words to his music, Asher credited himself with contributing musical ideas to several songs on the album, including this one. As Asher stated, Here Today contains a little more of me both lyrically and melodically than Brian. Moreover, Asher said this. That's a song that has a number of little sections to it that are quite different. It was not one of the easier songs to write on the album. It was, as I recall, a song that I wrote quite a lot to, much of which we didn't use. It was sort of a struggle before we got a lyric that Brian was happy with. The lyrics warned the listener to beware of his newfound love and prepare for the potential heartbreak that may result. A brand new love affair is such a beautiful thing, but if you're not careful, think about the pain it can bring. God, have I been fucking there. Don't even talk to me about that, bro.
Me too, dude, me too.
In his view, relationships are short lasting. Love is here today and it's gone tomorrow. It's here and gone so fast. The narrator also warns that the aforementioned lover will make the listener feel so bad, his heart felt sad, his days go wrong, and his nights so long. To prove his case, the narrator reveals himself to be her ex boyfriend. Well, I hate to be a downer, but I'm the guy she felt left before you found her. Wilson stated in 1996 that the song had really good lyrics, but in another interview from that same year, he said, Here Today was probably one of the mystery songs on the album. I don't really know what it's about. I liked it, but yet I didn't. I don't really identify with that song like I do with You Still Believe in Me or Caroline No. It was just one of those songs in there, one little song.
All right,
Doesn't
then
that
we go
sound a
on.
little contradictory right
Oh,
there?
yeah.
That actually,
And then we.
that just
Oh,
sounded
sorry, I keep
really,
interrupting you.
really fucking contradictory right there, man. But I don't know, man. It's like, yeah, a brand new love affair was such a beautiful thing. And fuck, don't even talk to me about that, bro. Don't fucking talk to me about that.
Hmm. All right, next we go on to my least favorite song on the album. I just wasn't made for these times.
You know what? A whole lot of people weren't made for these times. And I'm talking more specifically about the fucking stupid ass musicians you listen to today, like Taylor Swift and all of them. So,
Taylor Swift, Bruno Mars, Ed Sheeran, all of them. Just go.
fuck. Fuck, bro. Fuck. All right, dude. What you got to say?
First off, is it just me or does Bruno Mars not have one of the most annoying voices I've ever heard?
Tell me about it. But I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about this song.
Yeah. All right, the lyrics were written by Brian Wilson and Tony Asher about the ruminations on romance and the loss of innocence involved in growing up. Wilson stated in his autobiography that I just wasn't made for these times, was telling his self-portrait of his troubled psyche in the feeling that he was too advanced for his time.
Man, dude. Damn, son.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
We're not doing memes right now. Focus. Um, so obviously there's a lot more information here that I got obviously talk about. Hang on, how many songs do we have left? Oh shit, we are almost at the final stretch. God damn, dude. Time's slipping. Time's going too fast, man. Okay. Here's what it says. I just wasn't made for these times. Like you said, was Mitchell written by both Brian Wilson and Tony Asher for Pet Sounds. Although Wilson claimed that Asher only provided the words to his music, Asher credited himself with contributing music ideas to at least 3 songs on the album, including this one. Asher felt that the writing was different from their other collaborations. In many of the other songs, when Brian would express a feeling, I would say, oh yes, I had those feelings. Maybe not in the same way or the same degree, but I understood them. But this one I didn't relate to. On another occasion, he stated the song evolved from a discussion he had with Wilson about the fact that neither one of us was a particularly popular kid in high school. The lyrics describe someone who is depressed and unsure of their place in society, where they can express themselves, who they can trust, and why good things that have going for them, for myself, always collapse. Whether the character feels they are before or ahead of their time is left ambiguous. In critic Donald A. Guercio's interpretation, uh, I almost sneezed right there. Give me one. Okay. But in his interpretation, the lyrics are a first person chronicle of disillusionment from a narrator who, despite being intelligent, can't find a place where he can comfortably feel like a part of the world. Music historian Charles Granada read the song as a plaintive ballad about coming to terms with one's differences. Ultimately, the answer to his question, where do I fit in, lies with the realization that he doesn't. All right, quick sip here. Uh, When asked about the song in a 1976 interview, Wilson stated, that song reflects my life. It's about a guy who was crying because he thought he was too advanced and that he'd eventually have to leave people behind. When the interviewer suggested that Wilson appeared to share the character's experiences, he responded, yes, it did happen to me. I did Pet Sounds, and all of my friends thought I was crazy to do it. Asher stated it was definitely a lyric written about from Brian's perspective. Although during the hours that we spent writing, we didn't talk about his socialization per se. He never asked me to interpret his feelings in one of our songs, and certainly not this one. Granada described it as perhaps the most sensitive, moving song on Pet Sounds, projecting an overwhelming sense that the lyric represents Brian's life, his view of himself, and his music. Academic Christopher Kirky called it arguably the most personalized and introspective track on Pet Sounds. Conversely, Lauren Darrow, a former acquaintance of Wilson's, wrote in a 2012 blog post that he was the actual subject of the song. He disputed the suggestion that the song was about Wilson and argued, just reading the lyrics will explore that myth. Not made for these times. What goes wrong? It makes no sense. What do you think?
I'm gonna pull their lyrics back up 1 second.
Yeah.
I know it does have a lot of like the meanings behind the different lyrics of this song on Genius. Like it starts off, Brian Wilson often struggled with his manager father record label and indeed his own band as he pushed the boundaries of what pop music could be. Here he expresses his desire to meet and collaborate with individuals who are open to expanding the boundaries of popular music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could certainly understand
There,
that part about his father because the Beach Boys, that was all Brian Wilson's father, Murray Wilson. Murray wanted to create them to become one of the greatest bands ever, you know, and Murray kept pushing them, pushing them, pushing them, you know.
yeah, let's see. Wilson is facing letdown after letdown. Something starts up, whether this be a relationship or another opportunity, and it is exciting and new. However, it never turns out the way he wants it and eventually falls apart. This
Yeah,
happens time and time again.
yeah, it's just I mean, when you think about it, man, it's just like I'm gonna pull up the information again, you know, so that I could get a better understanding one more time. The song reflects his life, you know, because of, like you said, everything that was going on, like so much shit happening and whatnot, kind of thing. But what do you think about, like, it's the most sensitive movie song here?
I mean, that could be true. I don't know. Uh, when it comes to slower songs, I'm already picky with my music.
Yeah,
But with slower songs like ballads, I'm even pickier with them. There's some that I like, but this one just isn't one of them. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't really hit me right.
yeah. I'm not really sure what I could really say. Like, I can't be really, really biased, you know, because I do volunteer at a radio station where we play a bunch of, like, a lot of different stuff, you know, so. And even most of the folk music that I play, most of the majority of it's like slow like music, you know?
Yeah, like the Decemberists, they make a lot of slow songs, and I still like them.
Yeah, well, they're part of the
It's just something
progressive
about this
sound.
one particular song. The Decemberists aren't even really prog. I mean, like if anything, you might be able to classify some of their music as progressive folk,
Yeah,
but they're not
but
super
it's technically
proggy.
part but it's technically counts as the prog sound, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it would just be like, you know, like I've already talked about this on one of my shorts is about they're doing traditional country album and contemporary country album, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, even contemporary country is what it's called, and it's basically like the bullshit pop music that we play today. It counts as like contemporary, you know?
Yeah. Right. Next song is Pet Sounds.
The
Another instrumental one, but I really liked this one actually.
yeah, it's the title track, and it's one of two instrumentals here.
Yep.
I'm looking at this right here. One interesting thing that I found right here on Wikipedia, and you folks can look it up, it was originally supposed to be called Run James Run, as Wilson intended it to be used as the theme of a James Bond film.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? I'm wondering which one would have it been at that time. I'm gonna look it up quick.
Do it. I'm curious.
Let me see if I can find it quick. Alrighty, here we go. List of James Bond films. Okay, so this album was released in 1966. Okay, so maybe I'm thinking that it possibly could have been used for 1967's You Only Live Twice. Possibly.
That'd probably be it.
Yeah, possibly, like I said. But so this article continues. It was then titled Pet Sounds, the title of the album on which it appears. It is the second instrumental to feature Pet Sounds, the other being Let's Go Away for a While, blah 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 and all that. So, um yeah,
Question for you, unrelated to the video, just on the topic of James Bond.
yeah.
Daniel Craig is no longer going to be doing James Bond. There hasn't been a James Bond movie in years. If they do end up making a new James Bond movie, who do you think should play James Bond?
Do you think Cillian Murphy would be perfect for that?
Cillian Murphy. Let me see his face again.
He's the guy who was on Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I know. I just can't remember his face off the top of my head.
He was the guy who played as Scarecrow on the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
Dr.
You
Crane.
know what? I could see it. I could see it.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I feel that Robert Downey Jr. would also be perfect too, you know, but I don't know why.
One odd thing. Want to know what I want? I want a black James Bond. I really want a black James Bond. I think that'd be awesome.
Shit. I tell you one thing, if Chadwick Boseman was still with us today, man, God rest his soul, man, he probably would have been perfect as a black James Bond, dude. Like, he
Yeah.
is such a great drama actor, dude. Like, I've watched
Hmm.
him in the Black Panther movie. I've seen him in that biographical film that they did about the story of Jackie Robinson, dude. And I know you're not a sports guy, but that was a sports movie. That was about Jackie Robinson, who became the first black baseball player in Major League Baseball.
Want to know another reason? Well, one, I want a black James Bond just because I think that'd be cool. Want to know the other thing I like about it?
What?
Do you know how upset the Republicans would get that there was a black James Bond? They would throw a big fucking hissy fit. I'm serious. I'm serious. They would.
I'm not even gonna go there right now, but I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about, man. And yeah, I totally get it, man. But yeah, let's we got one more song to get through, I believe, right, my friend? Caroline,
Yeah,
no!
Caroline, no.
I had to do it for the fun of it. What the fuck
God
happened to your camera? You're glitching again, man. Fix your
damn it.
shit. You know what, Barry? Yeah, dude, get a fucking better webcam, man.
Hmm.
I don't know what the hell this ad is on here, so get the fuck out of here. I could just, oh, dude, I even have a mute button. I could just mute you if I want to.
Hmm.
All right, so this is the last song right here. Do you have anything you want to say, motherfucker?
The notes I took just said boring ballad.
What's that?
When I took notes for the songs, all I wrote down for Caroline No was that it was a boring ballad. It didn't really hit me right, but taste is subjective, you know.
Oh, I
Just
get
because
you,
I don't
man.
like something doesn't mean it's not good, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. All right, so here's a lot of information that I have right here about this.
All right, let me read what Genius says quick, because it's
Yeah, go ahead.
a
Yeah,
lot
please
less.
read that quick.
Yeah, the ultimate song on Pet Sounds, Caroline No, was also Brian Wilson's first and only single to be released under his own name on the Capitol label. The moody ballad epitomizes the spirit of Pet Sounds. An unwillingly world-wise lover bemoans the changes undergone in his love affair. The song evokes his mood with the simple image of a girl cutting her hair.
Sounds good, man. You know, it sounds really, really awesome. Man, there is like so much. Okay, I'm gonna read the information for the lyrics quick. This here's what Wikipedia says again. Caroline No was written by Brian Wilson and Tony Asher. I might have to look up who Tony Asher is when I'm done. It was possibly written a few days of writing Wouldn't It Be Nice? Although Wilson claimed that Asher only provided the words to his music, Asher credited himself with contributing musical ideas to at least 3 songs on Pet Sounds, including Caroline No. He credited Wilson with the subject matter. However, he'd always wanted to write a song about lost innocence, a young girl who changes as she matures, and somehow something's lost. Wilson's oh god. Sorry, folks. Wilson's 2016 memoir describes Caroline No both as a new song Tony had been working on and a song on which Wilson wrote the music. His 1991 memoir says that after discussing the proposed lyric theme, Asher took a tape home, embellished on my concept, and completed the words. I was getting a fuck ton of hiccups. Holy fuck, man. Asher initially conceived the title phrase as Carol I Know. When spoken, however, Wilson heard it as Caroline No. After the confusion was resolved, the pair decided to keep the new title, feeling that it had brought an especially poignant quality to the song. The lyrics describe a man who reflects on his former love interest and the loss of her innocence, asking, "Where did your long hair go? Where is the girl I used to know? How could you lose that happy glow?" At the end of the song, the singer asks if they could ever work together to bring back the things that made me love you so much then, before pleading, "Oh, Caroline, no." Dude, I'm just going to quickly go off topic quick. That was with the friend with benefits situation that I had.
Yeah. No, I've never had a friend with benefits. I don't know what that's like.
And it was because of that fucking whore I had to block one of my longtime best friends because she ended up dating him. And he was... Some people say you can't take things personally, but you know what? I'm a guy who was taught by my parents to never forgive and never forget. And Aegis, there is a reason why I had to burn so many fucking bridges. Is because of fucking people like them who did not abide by my rules of you're either loyal to me or you never will be. And
Yeah.
if you even fuck up once, game over. And so, Aegis, and I'm just going off topic right now. Will you always be loyal to me?
I will. I'll always be good friends. If I go when I go places, I'll drag your ass with me.
And you know me, dude, with what I want to do here on my YouTube channel, you know I can always call you immediately.
Yep, if you ever have any problems, if any shit hits the fan, I'm just a call away. You're a good friend, dude.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Alrighty. So, to continue on, folks, Wilson commented, "The lyrics are a real tearjerker. Very like Hey Girl, a 1963 record by Freddie Scott." Musicologist Philip Lambert identified Carolyn No as a continuation of the themes previously established in Wilson's You Still Believe in Me and The Little Girl I Once Knew. Yes, it was a single that was released in November of 1965. In his description, the protagonist is thoroughly heartbroken and disillusioned, and longs for a return to the youthful innocence, not the complexity of childhood. Wouldn't it be nice in reverse? Granada offered that the ruminating tune represented the antithesis of most Beach Boys hits. Music historian Charles Granada, who I just mentioned, writes that the line Carolyn Why suggests that the protagonist is unsure why the relationship has ended. He doesn't believe her, but he muses and frets over a flood of unanswered questions. Author James Perrone differs in his interpretation. The blame for the end of the relationship is placed on his partner. She is the one who changed, not him.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, dude. It is still relatable in reference to the stuff that I was just telling you, man.
Okay.
Fuck, dude, this song, yeah, it really fucking cuts deep, man. It really, really fucking cuts deep. God damn it, Brian Wilson. Why did you have to die right now, man? I'm just saying, like even then, like a lot of times these days, there's like so many people who are just like, oh, why does this person have to die now? Like, why now? Kind of thing. Brian Wilson, after what we have just talked about, I'm just like, Brian Wilson, I thought was a guy who would live forever.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, forever is never guaranteed. It's what happened to his brothers. That is what happened to both of his only fucking family right there. And I'm just looking up the information quick. Yeah. Yeah, they were his only brothers that he had, dude. Dennis Wilson died at 39 years old. His other brother Carl died at 51. And how old was Brian when he passed away just recently? 82 years old, man.
God damn, that's old. I want to
And
make it
he
that
was the
long.
last survivor of like his inner circle family.
Yeah.
Like you have your parents and then you have your siblings and whatnot. There's just me and my sister Brandy. Even though my older sister Skylar is still alive, I seriously doubt that because remember, she disappeared out of my life 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I technically only consider my mom and my sister Brandy as like my only inner family that I have left. But yeah, Jesus H. Christ, man. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, before we finish up this stuff, and we are almost at the 2 hour mark. Holy shit, man.
Damn.
Yep. I just wanted to try and find the um fuck. Just like the legacy stuff, kind of, Um where are you guys? Oh yes, but needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, this album, it was such a groundbreaking masterpiece. Like, even though Aegis, I know you were like, all that, and I could certainly
Yeah,
understand
it
that,
just
but
wasn't for me, but that doesn't mean that it was a masterpiece or a great piece of work, you know?
yeah, Brian Wilson, like I said, he intended to create this as the greatest album on earth. But you know what? even though it was only listed at number 2 on Rolling Stone's Greatest Albums Ever, it had enough of a cultural impact for 60 plus years, or at least how many more generations to come. It's been 59 years at this point since this album came out, but it really laid the groundwork for like being willing to stay in the studio, put a lot more effort into like all the final production, all the final mixing, dude. He really helped lay the groundwork for like, hey, you know what? This music could sound much more better.
Yeah.
You know?
I
And
like people who
Aegis,
push the boundaries in music.
yeah.
That's
And
something I have a big appreciation for is people who try to make something unique.
yes, exactly. And your band, the Deer Hunter, who you kept telling me about, I can see that they're really trying to do that with like, you know, their storytelling with all their rock operas.
Yes. And the music itself sounds unique too. And I'm excited to talk about their new EP someday because especially their song Magic Beans. I can't stop listening to it.
Well, we're going to do it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Next week, I want to talk about the Doobie Brothers' new album, but we are going to do that North American EP right afterwards. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but ladies and gentlemen, this album did so much. It actually it was among the main albums that helped bring in help usher in the psychedelic music, which would be a year later. The Summer of Love is what it's called. And it also helped bring in that sound orchestral pop. And that soft rock / sunshine pop. Radiohead, when they were working, when they released their magnum opus, OK Computer, Radiohead's song No Surprises was inspired by Wouldn't It Be Nice because of the beginning. You know, when you hear the beginning of Wouldn't It Be Nice and then compare it to the beginning of No Surprises by Radiohead, doesn't that sound like, oh, I didn't even know that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, here we go. I'm just so quickly reading this, folks. Radiohead's OK Computer was intended to invoke an initially shocking quality similar to that of Pet Sounds, according to Tom York, who praised the Beach Boys' work as an incredibly amazing pop record, but also an album. There were so many other people that kept talking about it. Pet Sounds have been cited as the precursor to emo music, with writer Sean Curtin identifying parallels in the introspective themes of Weezer's 1996 album Pinkerton and Death Cab of Cutie's 2003 album Transatlanticism. So, oh yeah,
All right.
hang on a second, I got so much more. To honor the album's 50th anniversary, 26 artists contributed to a Pitchfork retrospective of its enduring influence, including comments from members of you and your sister's favorite band, Talking Heads,
Talking Heads. Yep.
Yo Lang Tango, Chairlift, Deftones, and among others. Even its influence extended to your main guy, David Bowie, the
Hmm.
Flaming Lips, Frank Ocean, Fleet Foxes, oh, the boss, Bruce Springsteen himself, and apparently the neo-Nazi himself, Kanye West.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't like that guy. Honestly, even before he came out as a fucking neo-Nazi piece of shit, I never liked him in the first place. I'm gonna say that. I didn't like him as a person. I didn't like his music.
yeah. I will say this, the one thing that I really did actually like, he bum rushed Taylor Swift when she was giving her award
Hmm.
acceptance speech. Hey, I'm really happy for you, Taylor, but I'll let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. That's the one.
Hmm.
That's the only part I liked about it. So, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? Really, um, it's obviously Brian Wilson's songwriting, his willingness to do a lot of production and even do anything controversial, it fucking worked, and it helped change the landscape for we can do this, we can do that. More fucking hiccups. But yeah, Aegis, what would you give this album a rating of out of 10?
I'd give it a solid 7.
I think I would say maybe 7.5 to 8. I think I'll settle on 8, but it just for me, dude, I will say this for the final conclusion before we wrap up this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, just like with how Roger Waters built the Wall and how the Wall became Roger Waters' magnum opus, in my opinion, Pet Sounds is Brian Wilson's magnum opus. And ladies and gentlemen, if there's any of you out there who have not listened to this album, I encourage you to at least give it a listen. I will include the link to that album in the description below. I encourage you to check it out. This album really helped usher in a new era and became a huge turning point for the music industry for what people could do for like experimentations, production, final mixing, producing, and fucking songwriting. It really, really did this. Brian Wilson made this album with the intention to be like, I want this to be the greatest album of all time. Even though he did not fully accomplish it, it really left a very impactful legacy like no other album. It is ranked number 2 on the greatest albums list for the Rolling Stones magazine. But in my opinion, this album made Brian Wilson one of the most influential and greatest songwriters in history. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to check out the album. Aegis, any final words?
It was a good album. I probably won't ever listen to it again on my own. If someone else plays it, I'd be like, oh, this is a nice album. But I don't know, it's just not my cup of tea, you know. I did really like a few songs on there though, but it was like half and half. Half of it I liked, half of it I was like, you know.
Yep. Right before we wrap up this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say this. Brian Wilson, you left.
Rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace. You have left a legacy that is no like any other band or musician. There is a reason why you do deserve to be among the greatest songwriters ever and greatest music producers, mind you. Brian Wilson, I know that maybe personally he felt like I didn't do enough, but you know what, Brian Wilson? Your impact was really felt, and it's still going for many, many years to come. So many of your contemporaries even said a lot of good things about you. Mike Love reflected on the good times you had in a statement after you passed away. Your closest best friend, Al Jardine, cried when he was making a statement about you. That's how much of an impact that you left on this planet. And Brian Wilson, I assure you, your legacy will never be forgotten. So, rest in peace, Brian. You will never be forgotten.
Yeah, rest in peace.
But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this podcast and watching today. If you want to see more content from me in the future, subscribe to the Roger Radio Show now and follow me on all my social media.
And if you have any good ideas of videos we can make on this channel in the future, leave a comment.
Yep. And if you want to see more content from both of us, subscribe to the Intermission Group channel.
We make some stupid shit, but it's fun.
Yep. Is there any plans that we have that you want to let everyone know about?
So we've been doing the condiment roulette, all right. So we've done the mustard roulette, we've done the ketchup roulette, and soon enough, we're going to be having the barbecue sauce roulette.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will. I am almost done with that video, as a matter of fact, but while I'm finishing that up, we will have a movie review for you within the next couple of days, and we are going to talk about what might be Aegis's one of his all-time favorite movies, Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz.
Yep. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, ta-ta for now.
Peace.
Rest in peace, Brian. You will never be forgotten.